How's it going, everyone? My name is Jared, and for my project I did the effect that neonicotinoids have on bees. We touched briefly on this in lecture, but I thought it'd be good to go in a little bit more detail. So a neonicotinoid is a class of neuroactive insecticides that are chemically similar to nicotine. There's a lot of different types. There's acetamiprid, clothianidin, dinotefuran, imidacloprid, nitinpyrum, thiacloprid, and thiamethoxam. I bolded imidacloprid because it is the most widely used insecticide in the world, and they were actually praised for a long time for their perceived low toxicity to beneficial insects such as bees. But as we'll see, that's not really the case. So what neonicotinoids do is they act on certain receptors in the nerve synapse, so they disrupt chemical transmission. They are systemic and on-contact killers, which means that the insecticide can be absorbed by the plant and then spread throughout the whole plant, so that when it is eaten, the insect takes on that poison. And they're also on contact, which means that if they just land on it and come in contact with it, they will also get poisoned that way. One of the big problems is that it can persist in the soil for months and has even been found in woody plants for up to 6 years. Another problem is that treatments in the soil can contaminate adjacent plants that happen to also take up those chemicals. One of the things they're really good at, though, is killing just so many insects. They're incredibly effective and efficient, and they're also highly water soluble, which means that they can be poured on the soil, and then the plants will take them up through the roots. So the effects that it has on bees, the biggest problem is a sublethal effect. So not that it's just wiping out large numbers of bees, but the sublethal effects that it's having on the populations. They found in some studies that bees that ingested this poison had lower foraging ability afterwards. They had trouble finding flowers to forage on. They were slower learners and even had difficulty flying. And bees are, like I said earlier, poisoned by this by contact and consumption. So if it's sprayed over a crop field by a crop duster, they get poisoned by just landing on it. And they also, when they're consuming nectar and pollen, get poisoned that way. And one of the kind of overlooked problems is that neonicotinoids get metabolized over time in the plants, and the breakdown of those chemicals can create even deadlier toxins that aren't recorded or regulated or anything like that. It also has a really big effect on larval survival and fecundity. They found that when the poison was present in brood foods, so when the worker bees would bring back poisoned nectar and pollen, and it would get fed to the brood, that the brood would have reduced olfactory responses as adults, so they couldn't perform very well as adults, and they also had altered metabolisms, which would affect their growth really heavily. And neonicotinoids have actually been implicated pretty heavily in colony collapse disorder, which is just a large-scale loss of workers, which just leaves the queen and a few nurse bees to try to keep the hive alive, and obviously that doesn't work, so the colony collapses. So these are clearly having an effect on bees. I'm not sure what the answer should be or anything, but I know that this isn't it, and we need to find a better way to take care of our plants and our bees.